everybody. I'm here today to talk a little bit about some of the books that I've been reading and what's kind of on my to read list for the month of October. So, hi, I'm Lou, I'm the Rocker Witch, and welcome back to everybody that has been watching, and welcome to new people as well. I've had some new subscribers, so thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy the content. I'm just going to talk a little bit about a book I've been reading recently, and then also a couple of books that actually, one book I recently got and have just started. The other I got a while ago, and I'm looking at restarting again, and I'll explain that in a minute. So first off, if you've watched previous videos, you've seen that this summer it's been a summer. It's been a summer. I've had two major deaths in my family, and it's been a time. And during that time, I was actually like having trouble with reading. I usually like to read during my lunch break and sometimes like on the weekend and stuff. But I've just been like having trouble with that. And I don't really usually have trouble. I love to read and I still do a lot of reading, but it's almost like I'm feeling kind of scatterbrained a little bit. And I started though reading a little bit more again, getting into kind of the fall. And so I was at the bookstore with my husband and my kids, and I picked out a book that I thought would be like just kind of like happy and light and, nothing too stressful. And I picked up this book. It's called Make It Happen, Manifest Life of Your Dreams by Jordana Levin. And so I thought, these kind of manifestation books are generally quite happy and quite positive. And so I thought I would give it a go, give it a whirl. So I'm not like I'm not one of those people who's like, everything you think is going to manifest just like in the outside world. I think that your thoughts, yes, do affect things. I believe in like witchcraft, right? I think that if you are generally positive, more good things come to you than if you're walking around negative all the time. But I'm not one of those extreme people who thinks that if something bad happens to someone, they must have thought something bad. I think that is not helpful thinking, and I also just think it's just not true. But I think that, things like setting goals, being positive about it, things like affirmations are all things that definitely do help, and they can be like a really good and positive practice. And this summer I was in need of some positive vibes. So this book it's a manifestation book, but I do like that in this book she is quite practical. So it says, everyone can manifest. We're all doing it every second of every day without realizing it. And I think of that to a certain extent. But what basically she breaks it down in this book into some steps, some practical steps for people. So she talks about like how your thoughts, like thinking the thoughts that you're thinking, it can be, is step one. So getting clear on what your goals are. She talks about feelings, about like how, positive feelings generally tend to, generate more positive things. She talks about action, which is often the step that people are missing in the whole manifestation thing. They think if they just like write affirmations or they make a vision board or they meditate and visualize things, that it's going to happen. But you have to take action. And I think that's the big thing that I think a lot of these manifestation books are missing is you got to take action, right? Like you got to take the steps towards things. And then she talks about faith, like letting go and how have faith it'll come to you in the form that it's want. And if it's not meant for you, maybe it won't come for you. So I thought that was really practical. And so she kind of breaks it down into those different steps. And then the part two of the book she breaks it into things like money and love and career, those kind of things. And then the last part of the book I found, like, to be honest, like a bit boring, was about how to like make a spiritual practice. And I guess for someone like me, I'm like, yeah. Altars, crystals, tarot cards, that kind of thing. So I think this is a good book for somebody who is like new to this kind of stuff. Don't necessarily think if you're somebody who is practiced at this kind of stuff that this book may be terribly helpful. But I continued reading because I thought, oh, well, I might as well review the book, right? I do like she's honest here about her own struggles and how she finds certain areas of her life easier to manifest things than others. I think that is probably true for all of us, right? Like for her, she said, like, finding a dream job or finding work has always been really easy for her, that money is relatively easy, but she struggles with things like romantic relationships and manifesting that. So I think that it's really good that she's very honest about like some of the pitfalls she's fallen into and some of the things that she is still struggling with. So I do appreciate that because it's a lot more realistic than people who are like, I did these 10 steps and everything in my life is perfect, because we just know that's not true, right? Like we know that, no one's life is absolutely perfect. She's got lots of little exercises in here. So I think like overall, I think it's an okay book. It's not one that I would like write home about as far as like, oh my God, you got to read this book. But I would also say it's not a bad book either. I think too that, if somebody's like beginning at this kind of stuff, I think that this book would be good for them. I think has a lot of very practical recommendations in here, which is great because I've seen manifestation type books that are on the other end where it's like very, very woo, very like not practical. It's all like just like think fluffy thoughts and wonderful things will happen, right? So I think it's practical. I would recommend it to somebody maybe who is a beginner at this stuff, but if you're not, and if you're watching this, you're probably not, it's okay. I would give this maybe like 3.5 stars. But for my purposes, it was still a nice book to read, and especially because I didn't want anything that was like too intense and too heavy at the time. It's an okay book. Also, have to say the cover, I like the little gold things on here. I know that doesn't really like go into the content of the book, but I just want to give a shout out to whoever designed this because I think it looks pretty nice. So it's definitely what attracted me to going over to it. And plus, like it's a shiny gold airplane there. That's pretty cool. So I did like that. One book I started reading earlier this summer and then I kind of put it down, and it's not because of the book, to be really clear. It's more because, like I said, lots of stuff going on over this summer, and I was just feeling like, again, like having trouble just sort of like focusing on things, just feeling a little bit scatterbrained and all over the place, is Mastering Magic by Matt Aaron. He's the one, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Is it Aaron or Aaron? I don't know. But he's the one that wrote Psychic Witch, which is an amazing book that I would highly recommend to people. So I really want to read the follow-up, and I did get a fair ways into it. You can see here before I had to kind of like put it down. And again, it has nothing to do with this book. That has to do with me. So what I'm thinking of doing is starting to read this again, because I think I dropped off in chapter 2, halfway through chapter 2, understanding spellcasting. Early, like I said, early into the summer, probably like into May or June. And so I just want to start reading it all over again fresh. So this is definitely like on my list. From what I had read so far, is really good. Like it's like the other book, Psychic Witch, with like lots of practical exercises. I do like in this book that there is, what do you call it? Not additions, but like there's other pagan and magical authors that have contributed to this book, contributed different, exercises and things. And I think that's really cool. So I'm very excited to read through this book. And so I think that's the one I'm going to tackle next. I'm going to start reading it. You can tell this book was in my book bag and it got a little, I don't know if you can really see it on here, but it got a little damage from the rain and stuff. But that's what happens when you love books and you take them places. So this is definitely next on my list for like lunchtime reading is Mastering Magic. And then I hope to do a full review on that when it's done. I wanted to give it a proper review though, and that's why I think I'm just going to start it over again from the beginning. And then I was in my bookstore at where I work. I work at a university. They have a bookstore, lots of textbooks and things, but they also have a section with, just like regular books. And they have like a really tiny metaphysical collection. It's like 2 shelves. It's like, when you see the bookshelf, it's like half of that. And so I often look there, and most of the time I don't see anything that really appeals to me. But I went the other day and I found this on the shelf, and it is on my list of things to read. And that is the Ching, the Oracle, A Practical Guide to the Book of Changes by Annabelle Wen. And because it's a Annabelle Wen book, it is huge. It's like 800 pages and some. So I was like, it's funny because I'm all like, oh, I can't really focus on reading. And I'm like, I'm going to read this 800-page book. Look at me. Usually, though, when I'm feeling good, a large book like this does not intimidate me. I love me a good textbook, that's for sure. You know, it's like all the years in university, I'm like, a textbook? Why, yes. So I've already started reading it partway through. This comes with a beautiful ribbon. Like, I have to, again, shout out to the designer on that one. Um, and it's very thorough. Well, I mean, it's Benabel Wen, right? So it's incredibly thorough. I've always wanted to learn more about the I Ching. I know a little bit about it. I know about the 64 hexagrams. I know about how there's like the 8 trigrams and that it's 8 times 8, 64. I know about the 5 elements and the 12 Chinese zodiac symbols. And I know a little bit about feng shui and the bagua, but I want to know more, right? I feel like I have a very surfacey knowledge of it. And so I was like, I would really love to learn more about things like the history and the philosophy behind it. And she goes into like the different schools of thoughts and stuff. So I'm really excited to go with this. This is the kind of book I probably wouldn't tote around to lunchtime reading at work. It is the kind of book I would read on evenings and weekends because I can just pull it out and open it up. And I have to say, on like a tactile, experiential level, there was something really wonderful about opening a huge tome and reading it. It's just lovely. So anyway, shout out again to the designer of this book because it's got this beautiful red inside. It's got the beautiful red there. I think it's really lovely. She's got lovely illustrations in here. Again, the addition of this lovely red ribbon is just beautiful. Let's see. I gotta find where are some of her. There's lots of imagery in here, like from art. Also, like because I love art history, she has like images, like art historical images in here as well, which I think is really really cool. Like a lot of the watercolor and ink paintings, wood blocks, that kind of thing. Very beautiful. But yeah, some of Benabel's own illustrations are in here. Of course, when I'm looking through, I don't find them, but they are in here as well. There's lots of tables. I just think it's like a really thorough, really informative book. And yeah, so I'm really excited to really dive into this. And this will probably take me a while to read, but it'll be nice to kind of like bite into something that I've wanted to learn more about. So that's that book there. So that's kind of what's on my list right now. I'm trying not to put too many things on. I have lots of books I need to get to, but I think those two are going to be my priority right now. So let me know, this one just came out. So if you've read this book in its entirety already, kudos to you. But let me know, is this on your list? Have you picked it up? Are you thinking of picking it up? What are your thoughts about it? Let me know what your thoughts are on this book. Have you read this book? This book's been out, I think, for about a year. So let me know what your thoughts are on this. And same with this book as well. If I have to give a rating on this book out of 5, I'd give it 3.5 stars. Now, 3.5 is not low for me. 3.5 is not low. I rarely give a book 5 stars. 5 stars has to be like a life-changing book. 4.5 stars means it's awesome and I would highly recommend it to somebody. 3.5 means the book is good. I may not recommend it to everybody, but I might recommend it to some people. Like I said, beginners. So 3.5 stars for this book. I'll see what I think of the others. Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested, you can definitely look down at the Patreon below for the month of October 2023. I know you may not be watching that. You might be watching it sometime in the future. But on my Patreon in the Coven level, we're working with Athena on topics of wisdom and justice. So if you're interested in that, check that out. You can also check out my Etsy shop as well. I have readings there. This month, I am featuring past life readings. They're going to be at a cheaper price all month, so you can check that out too if you're interested. Otherwise, just thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Shout out to all my patrons. You guys are amazing. Keep me doing this. You guys are great. And as always, peace and love and rock.